Welcome to We've Got a Country to Save, hosted by the black face of white supremacy, and brought to you by my friends at InvestYRefy.com. Invest in America like I do, and by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also want to thank Epic Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are currently using, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. Now, if you don't patronize our sponsors, well, we know where you live. There was a debate, and Tucker Carlson found out some surprising things about the media in Australia and some final thoughts. All of that and more.
That $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
We beat Medicare?
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Oh, great Eldersky, what did you expect? What did I expect?
What's your prediction for the fight then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
Now, before we get into the debate, here's Governor Gavin Newsom of California pre-debate, doing pre-debate spin.
Gov, on the major question tonight of is Joe Biden up to the task? That has largely been defined by his opponent. I think they set too low a bar, frankly. But what do you think Joe Biden needs to show tonight?
I mean, I think he shows it over and over again. He shows up in these big moments. One of the most effective debaters in decades. You look back at his last many debates. He's a skilled debater. He knows how to show up at prime time. He knows how to show up on game day. I have all the confidence in the world that when this next 90 minutes is up, he'll come out successful. He'll come out successfully defending his record and, more importantly, painting a compelling vision for the future.
Before the debate, NBC accused the right-wing media of putting out videos of a confused Biden that were doctored, misleading, and said they're going viral. Well, nobody's saying the videos are doctored now, are they?
What are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Hi, folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with Yrefy, and they don't care about what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investyrefy.com. That's investyrefy.com. Yrefy, do well by doing good. Panic over at CNN. Panic over at MSNBC. It was beautiful. And as soon as the debate was over, every single pundit at CNN and MSNBC thought the debate was an absolute disaster for the president.
Anderson, this was a game-changing debate in the sense that right now, as we speak, there is a deep a wide and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party. It started minutes into the debate, and it continues right now. It involves party strategists, it involves elected officials, it involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket, and they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible. I can tell you it started minutes in. It started with the first couple of answers, and it has continued throughout the night from a, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, to what do we do about this? And it involves very senior people in the Democratic Party, including elected officials, saying we have a problem.
And just to co-sign what John is saying, I mean, the panic that I am hearing from Democrats is not like anything that I have heard in this campaign so far. There's a real concern here tonight that there's been some real damage done that cannot be undone. Biden solidified the perception among voters, but especially among his base. They were hoping that tonight would be a game changer. They are now seeing a president who is in the White House, who they do not necessarily believe can do this for another 4 years.
Look, I can't argue with either of them about how Democratic leaders are reacting. I think there was a sense of shock, actually, how he came out at the beginning of this debate, how his voice sounded. He seemed a little disoriented. He did get stronger as the debate went on, but by that time, I think the panic had set in, and I think you're going to hear discussions that I don't know will lead to anything, but there are going to be discussion about whether he should continue.
Listen, if anybody in America thinks that was even close to being an okay debate by Joe Biden, I'm living in a parallel universe. That was an unmitigated disaster for President Biden from the second he walked out to the closing statement.
Yeah, look, it was a really disappointing debate performance from Joe Biden. I don't think there's any other way to slice it. His biggest issue that he had to prove to the American people was that he had the energy, he had the stamina, and he didn't do that. And so I think that is of concern, and I think for a lot of Democrats, that's very disappointing.
I think Joe Biden lost it in the first 3 minutes. I think a lot of voters probably tuned out, and millions of people are having conversations with their families, with their friends, of if the president is up to the task and if he should step aside. Based on that, in 18 weeks, Donald Trump will be the president-elect.
This is my 10th one of these, and when the incumbent is running, the American people are being asked, keep what you got. Do you like what you got? Stay the course. That was not a stay-the-course performance from a president who, when he walked on stage, knew the fundamentals of this race were already bent against him.
And this,
they had a 38% approval rating. 60+% of the country thinks we're on the wrong track. And as Abby noted earlier, there were already significant doubts about, can you do this for 4 more years? It's the toughest job in the world. And so even in the middle of the debate saying he had a cold, I have a cold. I get it. I get it. That sucks. But he's the president of the United States. When the phone rings at 3 o'clock in the morning, the world doesn't matter if you have a cold or not.
And the president did intensive preparation for this debate. I mean, that's the other part of this.
And they signaled that repeatedly.
They told him repeatedly. I mean, he was in Camp David. All of his top advisors were there. They were preparing him as well as they possibly could for this moment. We came in here saying, sorry, Van, just a moment, but he had to solidify, and it's not just his base, it's who voted for him the last time around, right? Now, who voted for him last time around was enough for him to beat Donald Trump. Donald Trump can stay just where he was the last time around, and if Joe Biden erodes so significantly that it's less than what Donald Trump got, Donald Trump wins, okay? That's how the math works here.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. He did not do well at all. And he looked, I'll give you the analysis, you kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that was not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain of what we saw tonight.
Pain.
Then MSNBC hee-haw.
The universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic. The people who were texting with me were very concerned about President Biden seeming extremely feeble, seeming extremely weak. And, you know, I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. President Biden had one job tonight, and it was one primary job. And yes, it was to litigate Donald Trump's, you know, criminality and all of those things. But he had to settle his own party. He needed to settle Democrats. Democrats, you know, they always talk about Democrats are bedwetters and Democrats are always panicking. Yes, Democrats are always panicking. They're always scared, right? They're always thinking they're going to lose. Like Democrats are very pessimistic. This is just
neurotic.
Who they are. They're neurotic. But Joe Biden's job was to reassure them tonight. His job was to calm his party, to make them feel that, yes, I can do this. I have 4 more years in me. I have the ability and the stamina and the strength to do 4 more years. He did not do that. He did the opposite of that. He made them more panicked. The people who were texting me were even more panicked. They actually expected it to be better than it was. And now they're in I won't say a full-fledged panic, but it's getting there.
And are people that you're talking to who are expressing these concerns, are these people who are involved in Democratic politics, or
Yes.
are these liberals watching TV?
These are not liberals watching TV. These are campaign people. These are people who are either Democratic operatives. These are people who are former, you know, sort of Obama world administration people. These are people who are in the business.
Okay.
So the civilians are also panicking. They're also texting me, but I was trying to kind of ignore the civilians and really talk to the campaign folks. He believes that he is the only person that can do it. The problem is, after tonight, his party doesn't believe that.
I'm not going to put a fine sheen on it or a spin on it, even though I'm in the spin room, Rachel. There has been a uniformly negative reaction to Biden's performance tonight. Surely, as you know, Joy said, this was about revealing who Donald Trump was, but it was also Joe Biden battling a caricature of himself as an enfeebled person, an impression that Trump has been eager to convey to the country. And he did nothing to disabuse, I think, the country of the notion that he is very old and was lost frequently in that debate. I mean, on answers that should have been, to put it bluntly, a layup for him, whether it was abortion or the attack on abortion medication. His answers were rambling and incoherent. He turned a response on abortion into a mention of migrant killing. I mean, this is a person that clearly was over-prepared and had a lot of different points that were sort of swimming around in his head. And as a result, it felt like the answers that were legible, if you will, were not nearly delivered with the force and the clarity that they should have been. You know, the Biden campaign wanted this debate. This was their idea. And this is what happened as part of their strategy. It is confounding. We were told earlier this evening that the Biden spin team would be only making brief remarks in the room. And I don't know whether that is indicative of a group of people who understood the weaknesses that their candidate had in advance of this debate. But you can surely understand the logic of that after the fact. They're like all of Trump's shortlist VP nominees are walking around on the ground. Nobody wants to talk to them. It was like human piranhas descending on the governor after the end of this debate. Governor, what was your reaction to what we saw on screen?
Well, not on the substance. He won the debate.
Hold up.
The signature issue that Democrats have, which is abortion, the president's response was garbled and undirected at best. Yeah. Do you feel like he did what he needed to do on an issue that could motivate voters in the polls?
I think it's significantly insignificant. Worry less and do more. We have the opportunity to turn the page. We have the opportunity to put our heads down. We have the opportunity to universally have the back of this president who's had our back. You don't turn your back. You go home with the one that brought you to the dance. 100% all in. And I was very, very proud that he was able to articulate the work that he has done.
You were out there getting a chorus of questions about whether Biden should step down. There is panic that has set in. There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns. Do you think it's unfounded?
Well, I think it's unhelpful, and I think it's unnecessary. We've got to go in and got to keep our heads high. And as I say, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back because of one performance. What kind of party does that?
Well, I think consistent with your reaction, Rachel, and others on the panel, it's kind of a DEFCON 1 moment. Again, it doesn't matter, quite frankly, what people like us say. Right. It's what voters say. And if they were already concerned about is he up for it, and the way I think about it is, sadly, this really pains me to say this, they're 3 years apart. They seemed about 30 years apart tonight. And I think that's going to be the thing that voters really wrestle with coming out of this.
Tonight, you have MAGA gloating and Democrats outwardly worrying about the state of the race, to the point that they are not hiding their discussions about how they get Joe off the ticket.
Joe Biden had one thing he had to do tonight, and he didn't do it. He had one thing he had to accomplish, and that was reassure America that he was up to the job at his age. And he failed at that tonight. Does that mean that Joe Biden is not going to be the candidate? I don't know that. I think we'll know a lot more in a few weeks, how this plays out, how the polling plays out. But I think a couple of things are going on right now. I think I'm not the only one whose heart is breaking right now. There's a lot of people who watched this tonight and felt terribly for Joe Biden. There is a lot of, more than hand-wringing tonight. I do think people feel like that we are confronting a crisis.
Pain. And pray tell, what exactly was this?
We found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
You know what was funny? Watching Biden, thinking he nailed the answer, only to be told, Mr. President, you have about 45 more seconds. How do you want to use that time? And then Biden is going, oh my God, what am I going to say now?
But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
And you ain't black.
Guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left.
Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice.
For Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would.
Folks, thank you. Duty.
Biden looked weak. He looked feeble. Certainly not capable of another 4 years. And if I had a nickel for every time he said, the very idea, I could fund my next campaign.
The idea that he did something, the idea that the politicians, they're through with the idea. And number two, the idea that we have, he has no idea what the hell he's talking about. The idea he's refusing to, the idea that I did anything wrong. Number two, the idea that you have a right, and the idea, I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. We're in a situation where the idea is that we, in fact, but the idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that, the idea that.
President Biden?
The idea that we're going to be in a situation where, number two, the idea that he is doing anything, well, the whole idea, the idea that somehow, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea.
His son contracted cancer in Iraq?
What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq.
Iran launched a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel?
And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped.
1,000 trillionaires?
Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America.
And then there was the old inject bleach lie.
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible.
To quote PolitiFact, left wing, President Joe Biden said former President Donald Trump told Americans that drinking bleach could help combat the coronavirus. But that's not correct. Trump did not explicitly recommend ingesting a disinfectant like bleach. He did express interest in exploring whether disinfectants could be applied to the site of a coronavirus infection inside the body, such as the lungs, end of quote. But he never said drink bleach or inject bleach. We recently had some monumental news nobody's talking about. For the first time in our history, the interest we pay on the national debt surpassed every individual budget item except Social Security. That's right, the U.S. now spends more on interest than on national defense or even Medicare, and it's only getting worse as big government continues to spend like drunken sailors. That's why savvy investors, central banks, and concerned savers are turning to gold, something not tied to the inflated U.S. dollar. And you can too with the help of Birch Gold. For over 20 years, Birch Gold Group has helped thousands of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. To learn more, visit LarryForGold.com and claim your free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Birch Gold has earned my trust with their education-first approach, their thousands of happy customers, and their thousands of 5-star reviews. Protect your savings. Visit LarryForGold.com today. That's LarryForGold.com today. Biden says, nobody, never in favor of a late-term abortion. Really?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
But President Biden supports the Women's Health Protection Act that says the right to abortion, and I'm quoting, shall not be limited or otherwise infringed, end of quote. The bill would allow abortion providers to determine whether a pregnancy is considered viable, effectively enabling abortions, frankly, at any point. And don't forget what Robert Kennedy Jr. told Sage Steele.
But so in other words, keeping it as is with Roe versus Wade having been overturned and leaving it up to the states to determine if and when a woman can have an abortion?
No, I wouldn't leave it to the states.
You wouldn't, right?
No, I would.
You would say completely It's up to the woman.
My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have government involved.
Even if it's full term.
Even if it's full term.
And Biden repeated probably the biggest anti-Trump lie of them all, that Donald Trump, referring to Charlottesville, said there were very fine white nationalists on both sides.
Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again. Until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say? Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas, were fine people. And this is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
And Trump responded.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out, because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency is, without question, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
Just a few days ago, Snopes, the left-wing fact-checker, wrote, and I'm quoting, "While Trump did say there were very fine people on both sides, he also specifically noted he was not talking about neo-Nazis and white supremacists and said they should be condemned totally. Therefore, we have rated this claim false." End of quote.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Kill the person. Heather hired Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me. They didn't put themselves down as you. And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group. Excuse me. I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
Robert E. Lee are not the same.
Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
7 years after the fact, but better late than never. And Biden said, again in his very first campaign ad, this is what inspired him to get into the race.
It was there on August of 2017 we saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo-Nazis come out in the open. Their crazed faces, illuminated by torches, veins bulging and bearing the fangs of racism, chanting the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. And they were met by a courageous group of Americans, and a violent clash ensued. And a brave young woman lost her life. And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides? With those words, the President of the United States assigned a moral equivalence between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it. And in that moment, I knew the threat to this nation was unlike any I had ever seen in my lifetime. I wrote at the time that we're in the battle for the soul of this nation. Well, that's even more true today. We are in the battle for the soul of this nation.
It is a big, fat lie. Even Jake Tapper, one of the co-moderators, once said it was not true, but didn't say a word when Biden repeated it during the debate.
Let's play some of the sound of President Trump back in 2017, saying he had said today that he answered the question perfectly. Let's take a listen.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Now, elsewhere in those remarks, the president did condemn neo-Nazis and white supremacists. So he's not saying that the neo-Nazis and white supremacists are very fine people, but he is saying people protesting alongside those neo-Nazis and white supremacists are very fine people.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you are concerned about the invasion of privacy that is currently going on by the Biden administration? Biden's DOJ is invading individuals' private messages and targeting them based on their political affiliation, and that's why I partnered with Freedom Chat, a private social messaging app that, like me, believes privacy is your fundamental human right. Freedom Chat has variable end-to-end encryption, built-in screenshot protection, no storage of messages on their servers, and no commercial use of user data. I'm such a fan of Freedom Chat, in fact, that I have created my own private channel that you can subscribe to for exclusive content, including never-seen images, videos, and posts. Simply download the app, or if you're on Android, join their waitlist. Search for my channel and subscribe. No one can see the channels that you are subscribed to or the posts that you react to. It's your own perfectly curated private news feed. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. Download the app today and subscribe to my channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. And Trump, as expected, pounded Biden on the borders, letting in millions of people unvetted committing violent crime against Americans.
We found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
On the issue of age, this was entertaining.
What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
Back to abortion for a moment. Biden was asked whether he would put any limits on when a woman can have an abortion.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Now, Trump said every professor agreed to put the matter back of the states. Not true. But it does belong in the states. And Justice Antonin Scalia said this about abortion in 2012.
My view is, regardless of whether you think prohibiting abortion is good or whether you think prohibiting abortion is bad, regardless of how you come out on that, my only point is the Constitution does not say anything about it. It leaves it up to democratic choice. Some states prohibited it, some states didn't. What Roe versus Wade said was that no state can prohibit it. That is simply not in the Constitution. It was one of those many things, most things in the world, left to democratic choice.
Trump was asked about retribution. He said, my retribution is putting the country back on track.
Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion.
So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Trump hammered Biden on inflation.
We had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us. He made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce-back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation. And he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there.
Yeah, inflation's a thing.
Well, over 3,400 retail stores are closing this year. That is a 22% increase compared to last year at this time. And Hollywood's iconic Arby's is closing after 55 years. The owners say in part thanks to California's $20 minimum wage law, while others are citing inflation as the cause.
Drugstores are not going to be there anymore. Restaurants are not going to be there anymore. So this is consequential, not only financially and from a real estate standpoint, but it's consequential in quality of life, availability of services.
Now, the top closures include Family Dollar at over 600 stores, followed by Route 21, 99 cents only stores, CVS, 7-Eleven, and more.
Americans have had enough of supporting companies that hate our values. Tired of compromise? So am I. It's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why I'm proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch over to Patriot Mobile, you're sending a message that you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military vets and our first responder heroes. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes it easy to switch, keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Larry. Join me and make that switch today. patriotmobile.com/Larry, patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Oh, it doesn't matter. As I mentioned, Dr. Jill thinks he did a fantastic job.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lied! Yes.
Oh, thank you, Mommy. Now can we go and get ice cream?
My name is Joe Biden. I love ice cream. I'm an ice cream guy. Is the ice cream down that way? Y'all got to eat this ice cream.
So Democrats are now in a panic. What to do? What to do? Gavin Newsom, are you kidding?
We believe fundamentally that food solves hunger, that shelters solve sleep, and that housing solves homelessness. And if we're going to solve the problem of those that are out on the streets that we define as homeless, we better solve the housing problem if we're going to have an impact. And that's why we established this framework, what we call a 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness in San Francisco.
That was then. This is now for Mr. Newsom.
While the causes of homelessness are indeed complex, the solution is rather simple.
Now, you knew it was going to happen. Trump yells inflation. Biden goes, yeah, but democracy's on the ballot. Trump yells gas prices. Biden, yeah, but abortion's on the ballot. Trump yells open borders, illegal alien violent crime, terrorists, those on the watch list, 400 ISIS-affiliated people in the country illegally. Biden, yeah, but climate change is on the ballot. Trump, disastrous pullout from Afghanistan, unleashed Hamas, Iran, China, Russia, North Korea. Biden, yeah, but white supremacy. Trump, you turned your back on Israel. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators are chanting anti-Semitic slogans, shutting down schools, blocking streets, preventing Jews from going into synagogues. Biden, yeah, but you're a convicted felon. Trump, you falsely claim I said there were good and bad white nationalists in Charlottesville. Even Snopes says you're wrong. Biden? Mr. President? Mr. President? Jake Tapper, Mr. President, could you please wake up? Mr. President, wakey, wakey. We're going to go to a break. Clearly, the president is in deep concentration. We'll be right back. And CNN, frankly, had enough when a Trump spokesperson dared to cite some of the anti-Trump things that Jake Tapper has said.
Joining me now is Caroline Leavitt. She is Trump campaign national press secretary. Caroline, thanks very much for being here on the show. We played that to remind everyone that that was some of what they saw on the debate stage in 2020. Of course, President Trump went on to lose that election to Joe Biden. Can you tell us what Donald Trump is going to do differently on the debate stage this time?
Sure. Well, President Trump is well prepared ahead of Thursday's debates. Unlike Joe Biden, he doesn't have to hide away and have his advisors tell him what to say. President Trump knows what he wants to say, and he's going to relay his vision to the American people to make this country strong, safe, secure, and wealthy again. He's been doing that across this great nation to all corners of this country. That's why he was in Detroit, Michigan last week. He was in Philadelphia for a big rally on Saturday night, and that's why President Trump is knowingly going into a hostile environment on this very network on CNN with debate moderators who have made their opinions about him very well known over the past 8 years and their biased coverage of him. So President Trump is willing to bring his message to every corner of this country, to voters, to ensure that he wins this election in November. He looks forward to doing that. And I know the American public look forward to hearing from him.
So I'll just say my colleagues, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, have acquitted themselves as professionals as they have covered campaigns and interviewed candidates from all sides of the aisle. I'll also say that if you talk to analysts of debates previous, that if you're attacking the moderators, you're usually losing. So I really want to focus in on what these two men are going to do and say when they stand on the stage. Now, we have a little bit of what Donald Trump, your boss, has said in trying to set expectations for this debate. I want to play a series of his comments, and then we'll talk about it. Watch.
Well, maybe I'm better off losing the debate. I'll make sure he says I'll lose the debate on purpose. Maybe I'll do something like that.
I assume he's going to be somebody that will be a worthy debater.
Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history? Or should I be nice and calm and let him speak?
So he's basically saying there, well, will I let Joe Biden win? It does seem as though many Republicans have set the bar very low in terms of arguing that Joe Biden is basically senile. Now you have people like Doug Burgum coming out and saying, well, President Biden's very accomplished, trying to set expectations in a different place. What do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it would take someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently, frequently likened President Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay.
Now, as
I'm
for
sorry,
this
guys.
debate,
We're going to come back out to the
expectation
panel.
for-
Caroline,
the
thank you very much for
expectation
your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate. Our thanks to Caroline.
Exhibit B, Tapper calls the Trump presidency a nightmare.
Divisions caused and exacerbated by President Trump himself. It's been a time of several significant and utterly avoidable failures, most tragically, of course, the unwillingness to respect facts and science and do everything that can be done to save lives during a pandemic. It has been a time where truth and fact were treated with disdain. It is a time of cruelty where official inhumanity, such as child separation, became the official shameful policy of the United States. But now the Trump presidency is coming to an end. To an end. With so many squandered opportunities and ruined potential, but also an era of just plain meanness. It must be said, to paraphrase President Ford, for tens of millions of our fellow Americans, their long national nightmare is over.
Did Tapper just say Trump participated in an erection?
Right. The Colorado Supreme Court, of course, wasn't saying, however partisan people might have thought the decision was. Their explanation was not they didn't like Donald Trump. They said he participated in an erection. And I have to, an insurrection. And I have to say, I got up at 5 this morning to do Casey Hunt's show, and I'm exhausted. The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well on a national political stage. This time, of course, in the United States. This time given life by former president and current Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump.
Let's recognize this comment for what it is, a long-standing anti-Semitic trope that the true allegiance for Jews is to their religion rather than their country. It was used in Nazi Germany to justify the arrests, persecutions, and mass killings, attempted extermination of the Jewish people. And Trump has been pushing this trope for years.
He talks about the blood of America as being poisoned, echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany.
Then there's Jake Tapper versus Trump aide Stephen Miller.
The people that you don't connect with and understand, the people whose manufacturing jobs have left, who've been besieged by high-crime communities, and who've been affected by a policy of uncontrolled immigration, those voices, those experiences don't get covered on this network. That's why, to prove the point, I was booked to talk about the very issues I'm just describing, and you're not even asking about them because they're not interesting facts to you.
That's not true. I have plenty of questions on immigration. You've attempted to filibuster by talking about your flights with the president. I want to ask you a question because
don't be condescending, Jake.
Stephen, the president and the White House.
The reason why I want to talk about
the president and the White House.
The reason why I want to talk about the president's experiences, what I've seen with him traveling to meet dozens of foreign leaders, with his incredible work.
Okay, you're not answering the questions.
No,
I understand.
You have 24 hours a day of anti-Trump material, and you're not going to give 3 minutes for the American people to hear the real experience of Donald Trump.
There's one viewer that you care about right now, and you're being obsequious. You're being a factotum in order to please him, okay?
No.
And I think I've wasted enough of my viewers' time. Thank you, Stephen. As Republicans, lawmakers call for Attorney General Jeff Sessions to resign, in a major reversal, Democrats are now
unattended luggage.
Behind me is the San Diego border wall, what was once regarded as the best example of secure bordering in the United States. Now, this border wall section, it's now facing the same type of border crisis right here as the rest of the country.
We have open gaps here in San Diego, but they're just coming in.
According to statistics from Customs and Border Protection, around 7.2 million illegal immigrants entered the United States under President Joe Biden alone. What is actually causing this crisis?
By the way, Trump rolled out a brand new ad.
2024, it's our final battle We're either going to have a country greater than ever before, or we're not going to have a country at all. And we're ready for it. Are we ready? You must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home. This is your heritage and our American liberty.
Switching out Joe Biden ain't going to happen. The biggest person in that audience was Jill Biden. And Dr. Jill loves being First Lady. Anybody that approaches Biden is going to have to approach Jill first, and she is not leaving. And then, of course, there's somebody named Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is on deck. She wants to be president. She ran for the presidency. And if you're Kamala Harris, you're thinking, wait a minute. Okay, my numbers are under Biden's, but I've never lost an election when I've been on the ballot. I ran for DA in San Francisco. I won. I ran for Attorney General, California. I won. I ran for re-election for AG. I won. I ran for U.S. Senator in California. I won. Now, I did run for president 2020, but I dropped out before any of the contests, so that doesn't count. I was on the ballot with Joe Biden in 2020, and we won. I've never lost an election. And this is the Race and Identity Party. That's one of the reasons Kamala Harris is there. First, black, female, or person of color. And she's going to be dropkicked for some white dude like Gavin Newsom or Mayor Pete. Not going to happen. The most loyal part of the Democratic base are black females, and they love Kamala Harris, and they will resent it deeply if she's dropkicked. Now, they won't resent it so much they'll vote Republican. They just won't vote, thereby guaranteeing that Donald Trump not only wins, but wins in a landslide. Now, about switching Biden, here's what the Heritage Foundation said. Quote, battleground states, such as Georgia and Nevada, have procedures under which a candidate may withdraw from the ballot. Wisconsin allows it only in the case of death, according to a memo. Some states, like South Carolina, do not allow withdrawal for political reasons. Limited case law exists on swapping out candidates on a ballot. At least 31 states defer to the state or national party rules and nominating committees in the event of a candidate's withdrawal, close quote. My long way of saying it's going to be messy if they try it. Now, I thought Trump was, quote, threatening our democracy, end of quote.
Do you have confidence in the Supreme Court? I mean, they've yet to rule on this immunity thing, all this thing about Alito and the flags and Clarence Thomas and his wife. I mean, do you have confidence in the Supreme Court?
No, I think they've gone rogue. It's most unfortunate. But it's unfortunate further to see what the other justice, what happened to the Chief Justice? Did he go weak or did he go rogue?
Trump is getting support in very strange places.
In New York, the one he got convicted for was the greatest fundraising bonanza ever. He was lagging behind Biden, and now he's pulled quite a bit ahead. That trial was the greatest reason people had to send their checks for $5, $10, $25, whatever dollars to Donald Trump. So I was always with you on the one in New York, the hush money trial. I don't think they should have brought that one. It was just always going to look like a sex case, and people were always just going to look at it that way. So anyway.
That case, the Attorney General's case in New York, frankly, should have never been brought. And if his name was not Donald Trump, and if he wasn't running for president, I'm the former AG in New York, I'm telling you that case would have never been brought. And that's what is offensive to people. And it should be, because if there's anything left, it's belief in the justice system.
Let me squeeze in one non-debate matter, may I? Tucker Carlson goes to Australia and encounters a media arguably worse than ours.
So much for your address today. So you talked a little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same.
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well,
I don't think I said that.
Well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times. And
really, when did I say that?
On your show.
I said whites are being replaced?
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I would challenge you to cite that, because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that. I said native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks.
Native-born Americans.
Native-born Americans. And Americans who, like black Americans, have been African Americans, have been in the United States for, in many cases, their families over 400 years. And their concerns are every bit as real and valid and alive to me as the concerns of white people whose families have been there 400 years. So I've never said that whites are being replaced. Not one time. And
I
you can't
believe
cite
that's
it.
untrue.
So we just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends. So
Well,
let's,
I mean, you've been
let's
lying about
pull
my
that back.
Press
I'm
Gallery
happy to
colleagues all
explain what I
morning as
do
well,
think.
so,
Well, you actually can't say it because I didn't say it, and I don't believe it. And I'm telling you that to your face, so why don't you just accept me at face value? My concern is that the people who are born in the country are the main responsibility of its leaders. And as noted earlier, when those leaders shift their concern from the people whose responsibility it is to take care of to people around the world to put their priorities above that of their own citizens, that's immoral. And they are being replaced in my country, people who are born in the United States. And the birth rate tells the whole story. They are not at replacement rate. And so the US population is growing because we're importing people from other countries. And my view is that happy people have children, and a functioning economy allows them to do that. And we don't have that. And so you need to fix the economy and fix the culture and make it so that people who want to have kids can. You don't just go for the quick sugar fix of importing new people. Like, that's my position. And if you think that's racist, that's your problem.
I never called you a racist.
But of course you are suggesting, and
Well,
I must say, one of the reasons people don't like people like you in the media is that you never say exactly what you mean. Your slurs are all by implication, and you're about to tell me the great replacement theory is racist or anti-Semitic, whatever. I've said what I've said to you right now like 100 times in public. I hope to, if I live long enough, say it 100 more times. I think it's completely honest and real, not racist or scary. It's factually true. It's not a theory, it's a fact. And the whole point of your question was to be like, you're a scary racist.
Well, I haven't
And
actually
my
finished my
response is, no,
question.
I'm not. Okay, well, how about no more lying in your questions, and then I'll answer it.
Okay. Well, this is the same theory, or as you say, idea, that has inspired the New York Buffalo shooting where 11 black Americans were killed.
On.
2
You know
white
what I mean?
Americans were killed.
Like,
And it's also
okay,
inspired...
it's not, first of all...
It's inspired one of the worst Australian guns
How do
of
they
all
get
time
people
to
this
shoot
stupid in the media? I guess it doesn't pay well. Look, I'm sorry. I've lived among people like you for too long, and I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. I'm totally against the war in Ukraine, for example, which doubtless you support. And like all dutiful liberals, support more carnage. I don't. I hate mass shootings, actually. Nothing I said, what does it mean to inspire something? My views are not bigoted against any group. They're honest, they're factual. That's not hate, that's reality. And my views derive from my deep concern for Americans, actually. Americans aren't having kids because they can't afford to. And nobody in charge cares. And so that's my position. That doesn't inspire mass shootings. How dare you try to tie me to some lunatic who murdered people? How dare you, actually? And in fact, I mean, do you know what I mean? I'd be like, Hitler wore those shoes. A lot of people are saying that you're like Hitler. Can you explain those shoes? Hitler wore exactly the same shoes, and you're like, I've got nothing to do with Hitler. Well, that's how I feel about your absurd, disingenuous question.
Right, so therefore you support gun control?
What? I thought it couldn't get dumber, but it
shootings?
did. No, I don't support disarming law-abiding people so they can't defend themselves. So the government has a monopoly on violence? I don't think so. First of all, in my country, that's illegal, as you know. But moreover, it should be illegal in every country. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family. Period. And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine? And the countless innocents being murdered there every single day? I doubt you are. Probably Putin bad. I am. I'm a Christian. I hate violence. I hate mass shootings. I have guns at home, and often on my person when I'm in the United States, I'm proud to say, because I want to defend myself and those I love against violence. That's the point. I'm not perpetrating crimes. I'm not shooting strangers. I'm defending what I love. And if you're against that, I guess I would ask why. Why would you be against that?
Well, so you don't think you harbor any kind of responsibility for these hate crimes?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be charitable. I was like, maybe you're just pretending to be dumb. Now I don't think it's an act.
Tucker, thank you for taking those questions. I'm sure you enjoyed some
Actually, I
questions from the
loved it. I
press.
just feel sorry. I mean, because I got here and the country's so unbelievably beautiful and the people are so cheerful and funny and cool and smart. I'm like, your media's got to be better than ours. It can't just be a bunch of castrated robots reading questions from the boss. And then it turns out it's exactly the same, maybe even a tiny bit dumber.
A Real Clear Markets article said, Bank of America needs to come clean about debanking practices. It wrote, and I'm quoting, more victims of Bank of America's debanking regime have come forward, including Timothy II Project International and constitutional scholar John Eastman, a friend of mine, both debanked under similar circumstances by the nation's second largest bank. The bank's lack of transparency about cancellations that suspiciously look like they are based on viewpoint is why shareholders sought a report assessing whether the bank's policies and practices pose a risk of politicized debanking. Old Glory Bank will never debank any law-abiding customer. Our mission is the Constitution. Open an account at oldglorybank.com, and when you get your debit card in the mail, activate it, and you'll get a copy of my latest book, As Goes California, at a 50% discount. oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Some final thoughts.
Surely the expectations on President Biden will be higher.
He absolutely cannot have a senior moment, a physical or verbal stumble, him forgetting something.
Any of his kind of freezing moments. Stay alert, to stay engaged, and to stay awake.
President Biden has to show that he can stand there for an extended period of time.
Remain upright.
Remain upright. To be president. You know, I may be mistaken, but I believe those are the same qualifications needed to be scarecrow. Tonight, the president must show the country that he can keep our corn safe. Biden has to not look old and not have a senior moment. Go.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Need to call a real estate agent in New Zealand. Okay, a high-pressure situation. A lot of times you can confuse saving Medicare with beating it. I'm sure it's not something that repeated throughout the debate, causing Democrats across the country to either jump out of windows or vomit silently into the nearest recycling bin. Anybody can talking. How did Biden do not talking?
How close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states, everybody. And China, nothing, and Russia, nothing, and India, nothing. I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history.
Not great.
Wow. Huh? Huh? Did you see the debate? In case you missed it, don't worry, so did one of the contestants. I mean, wow. I mean, Trump told lie after lie after lie. He never would have gotten away with that if Joe Biden was there. Joe, come on, man, Joe. You know, Joe, he famously loves trains, but apparently not of thought.
Coming to a platform near you, and yes, that's my voice. The cartoon is called The New Norm. I'm Norm's boss.
What's that?
Progress. It's the new norm.
The new norm ain't the same as the old norm. I'm the old norm. I want normal beer.
Warning, warning, perimeter reached.
Ugh. It's your fault I got house arrest.
You're the one who threatened the school board.
I gently suggested
Yelled.
they stop brainwashing my daughter that girls aren't girls and men aren't men.
Sometimes they're neither, or both, or furry and dressed like dogs.
Ow! Janice! What's that?
Warning, offensive.
Actually, that is one of my pronouns. Also they, them, and me.
You're non-binary?
How do you know that word?
I learned it in school.
That's why I'm locked up.
Norm, the judge agreed to conditional parole.
What condition?
Where's my room?
That's
You're
staying here?
Chaz is part of a new government program.
To re-educate homophobic, transphobic, racist...
Charlie, finally, someone normal.
I don't understand. You're black.
Did that just black whisper?
You're his friend?
And boss. Speaking of, when you coming back to the trophy shop?
As soon as I get rid of this, which means I gotta take in that?
Offensive.
Chaz is here to re-educate Norm.
In non-bonery studies.
Offensive.
I'm allergic to dogs.
It's okay. Billy is an emotional support dog and non-binary.
Oh, okay then. Good dog.
I come here to get away from woke.
Trouble at home?
Oh, my boy, or whatever it calls themselves now, is thinking about transitioning.
Reggie?
Try Regina.
Transitioning to what?
Another fumble.
Hopefully not a Jets fan.
Hey, pronoun, this bud's for you.
Offensive.
I can't drink. I'm not 21.
Y'all influenced my boy to cut off his junk, but draw the line at beer?
Can't do this.
Yes, we can.
Find a way to break him. Maybe we can fix the country.
I just want normals. Beer.
You know there'll be jokes.
The new norm ain't the same as the old norm. Everything's changing and I don't know when. This woke nightmare will end. Thank God for Elon Musk and his post memes. X is the home for free speech.
I almost forgot. We're going to Disney World.
Make America funny again.
What's my name?
What's my name? Didn't I tell you you're gonna call me my name? I said, what's my name? He said, Cassius Clay. Your name is Cassius Clay. I kept hitting him. I said, what's my? He kept saying, Cassius Clay. And by round 7, I said, what's my name? He said, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali.
And my name is Larry.
And lastly, a dog wonders, hey, am I being punked? Okay, I lied. One more.
I've got a new doctor who is stunningly attractive. Early 30s woman, raven black hair. I mean, smoke show. She's absolutely gorgeous. So the first time I met her, I was having an appointment in her office, in the doctor's office. So I walked into the doctor's office. My jaw hit the floor. I sort of walked in and went, all right. She went, oh, come in, sit down. I went, okay. She said, it's very nice to meet you. I went, okay. She said, well, please, tell me what the problem is. I said, I'm embarrassed. She said, look, I've been a doctor for years, nothing I haven't heard of before, just tell me what the problem is and I'm sure we can help you. I said, okay. I think my tastes funny. I don't know if there's a test for that, but I've had an idea.
Hope you enjoyed We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by my friends at InvestYRefi.com. Invest in America like I do. And by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also want to thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are currently using, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. And remember, we've got a country to save.